A lot of people say not to study two languages from scratch at the same time.
They say if you do it, it should never be between two languages of the same family.
But could learning two similar languages at the same pace actually help you progress faster?
We're gonna find out. Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video in which you will find out that Abigail and I have decided to learn Spanish and Italian.
This is almost always advised against, so we want to see if learning two languages from the same family at the same pace could actually be beneficial and help us progress faster in these languages.
In this challenge, we will be using predominantly Mango languages to see if their course can bring you to an intermediate high by the time you finish it. Now, for anybody who's unfamiliar, Mango Languages is a website and app that uses phrases to teach you a language through conversation. So basically, it'll take these phrases and break them down over the lesson, and it uses space-based repetition to introduce you to these concepts and sounds over time.
Good evening to you too, Mark.
Buona serata anche a te, Marco.
Buona serata anche a te, Marco.
Just finished the first lesson on Mango Italian, and I can say buongiorno signore, buongiorno signora, buongiorno signora. I can also say buonasera, come stai Marco?
So far I'm definitely finding that the pronunciation in Italian is a lot harder for me than the pronunciation in Spanish. I'm having a lot of trouble distinguishing between how to say sir and ma'am. So it's signora for ma'am, and then signore, but I'm definitely starting to feel the struggle of doing both at the same time. I think the problem isn't necessarily though that it's Spanish and Italian. The problem is that I'm switching back between two languages. I have a really tough time switching between languages in general, even with languages I've studied more so. Like when I speak Esperanto and then switch to German, I have a lot of trouble switching between things, which is something I definitely wanted to work on. So I'm feeling my brain almost like hurts. I can like feel everything like working to switch me back and forth between Spanish and Italian. So I think I definitely in the future want to try maybe doing one language in the morning and one language at night or something like that. I really do like switching between the two in the sense that I'm getting to see the similarities between the two of them, and I'm sure that those are going to be things that end up helping me learn the languages, since I can already tell that like my French is going to help me with this too. I do think though I'm going to need to separate these a little bit more, not even because they're romantic languages, but I know that I don't even study all of my languages in one sitting usually when I'm doing things, even if it's something really different like German and Bulgarian. I would never put them back to back like this, so for my own sake I might just need to kind of space these out a little bit. So tonight so far I have done 3 lessons on Duolingo per language. I started out tonight instead, I did the 3 lessons for Spanish and then I did the 3 lessons for Italian, so that way I kind of wasn't switching back and forth as much, and I feel like that helped a lot. I do think I kind of want to switch back and forth sometimes, just because, like I said, I think my issue isn't the 2 languages necessarily, it's that it's 2 languages in general, and that's definitely something I want to work on, is my ability to switch back and forth in 2 languages. It is pretty clear that I'm still a beginner in Spanish, and it is hard for me to actively recall things, but I do feel like because I took beginning Spanish classes so many times and it was the same information just over and over in my head, it's things that I kind of now remember forever pretty much. But it was all new information in Italian, except one of these I did basics 1, basics 2, and then phrases, and the whole phrases section I already knew from doing it yesterday, so I've got some new notes. I am not feeling great today, and I have not wanted to study languages at all today. I haven't felt up for it, and I've just been kind of waiting to feel a little bit better, but I don't think that's gonna happen. It's 9:30 at night, and I honestly just feel tired now. I want to go to bed. But I'm going to do a lesson of Spanish on Mango, and then a lesson of Italian on Mango, and if I feel like doing more after that, I will.
Disculpe, usted habla inglés? Parla italiano?
Solo un po'.
Di dov'è?
I just made it through both sections that I was gonna do for Spanish and Italian, and I am actually finding that learning both at the same time is helping, because there are definitely sort of things that are making me notice things about the other one. For example, the thing that I was learning today had how to say excuse me in both of them, which the formal and informal kind of line up for Spanish and Italian. So for Spanish, the formal is disculpe, and then for Italian it's scusi, and then the informal is disculpa and scusa. So instead of doing the next lesson in chapter 2 of Mango, I'm actually going to go and look up a verb conjugation chart for Italian, just because I do like to learn some things out of context in languages, so that way I feel like I can use them in my own situations that I'm making up. I feel like if I learn things only through context, it's harder for me to take it out of the context and use it. So I'm going to learn how to conjugate verbs in Italian, just so I sort of know exactly how I'm doing that. I do already have an understanding of that from middle school Spanish for Spanish. One of my favorite resources for conjugating things is actually Google. Not Google Translate, but if you search like conjugation of blank or like French verb tenses, or in this case, Italian verb conjugation, and then you just click on images, there's actually a ton of really good stuff. So as you can see, I've literally just typed in Italian verb conjugation, then you go images, and then as you can see, like, here's some things, but I assume those are irregular. So if we find one that's just going to be the present tense. A lot of people are against making kind of verb conjugation charts and things like that, and I get why, because obviously this isn't going to teach it to you, but I think writing things down like this is actually very helpful. It also means that now I can go back and cross-reference this whenever I'm learning new verbs. I can learn how to conjugate things. Okay, so today I went and did my studying at Starbucks, so I don't have footage of that, but it's come to my attention that my beautiful verb chart that I made yesterday and filmed is not correct. And I know there's probably tons of you that were watching that clip and were like, what are you doing? But it wasn't right. I do still recommend the method that I showed you. I'm actually using it right now, again, so I can confirm that I do like this method. I do feel like it works. Also, here's Matt doing his studying. I was doing Mango languages today. I finished chapter 2 for both languages, which I'm excited about. But it was like, how do you say I understand? And it's like capisco, and I was like, that's not what this says. So I fixed it. Estadounidense.
What are you trying to say?
Estadounidense.
Now combine. Do them like two separate words first, and then combine them.
Estadounidense.
Yeah. Estadounidense.
But you gotta do it more as one word. It's like estadounidense.
Estadounidense. Mi esposo habla italiano. If I sound a little weird or like I'm overpronouncing even my English, it's because I had 4 wisdom teeth removed yesterday, and I'm in pajamas, so excuse me. I'm making a very conscious effort in my learning the basics of both of these languages at the same time to really hone in on their sounds, so that way I can separate them due to elemental sounds, or like phonetics essentially. I have only done the first 2 lessons of, I believe, Spanish and Italian on Mango, and I feel a little bit stronger in Italian right now, so I think I'm gonna do Spanish first today and get through the first chapter at least. I'd like to go ahead of that. So I'm a bit behind Abigail. What I'm doing with my notebook, which might interest you, I don't know, I found that this way might be fun, is every page has a little dividing line in it, and I'm going to have like Spanish notes on one side and Italian on the other. So I think that seeing them side by side will either help or hinder me. There's really no way to know other than just doing it and finding out what happens.
Hello, how are you? What is it?
Hola, ¿cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? Usted.
Hola, ¿cómo está usted?
Hola, ¿cómo está usted?
You're in an informal situation. How would you say, hello, how are you?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Let's learn how to say he.
Él.
El. And then this is where my knowledge of French confuses me, because when I see el, I want to pronounce that E acute accent as like an ale, but that's very wrong. Mi esposa habla.
Es mi hermano. Es mi hermana y se llama Guadalupe.
I just got to es un gusto conocerlo.
So did I. Now I'm on Es un placer conocerlo.
Hey, that's like piacere. Oh no. 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 Oh my god. Oh my god. Do you know what just happened?
No. So as probably evident by just me in the last few clips, I'm not having the best week. We do try to portray the most realistic and most accurate representation of what it's like to learn languages, and I feel like this is it sometimes. Sometimes even when you're in the midst of a really exciting challenge that I've been super excited about, and I really do want to study Spanish and Italian, I really have loved the languages, I just am not currently feeling great.
I've talked a bunch, and you have probably seen in this video already, that I like to sing in language learning. It's just because I enjoy music a lot, and so getting to include that in how I learn is very important to me. I currently have the Mango Reader installed on Chrome for me, and I have it set to Spanish of Latin America, which is what Abigail and I are learning. And so basically there are a ton of languages that you can do with it so far, and I love readers like this. As you guys know, I've talked about them a ton. And what's real neat is I decided to go to the song I was listening to and basically just start to like translate it. But I think it's real neat to be able to take your language learning outside of a specific course and to bring it into the real world, more or less. I feel much stronger in my Spanish than I do in my Italian, but I think that's just due to my like just where I am geographically. I think I just hear Spanish a lot more than Italian, and so it's much more familiar to me. And plus of the amount of times I've attempted to begin studying Spanish in the past. Yeah, it's cool. I'm starting to see patterns already though, which is great. And same in Italian, but I would say less so in Italian just because I feel a little bit behind in Italian.
Vaya, go. Straight. Derecho.
Derecho.
Straight. Go.
Derecho. Vaya. Vaya. Vaya.
Straight.
Derecho.
Go straight.
Vaya derecho.
Encontrar. Embajada. To be able. Poder.
Aiutare.
So I just finished chapter 4. It took me like 3 more days than I was planning on it taking me, but I did finish it. I'm definitely starting to feel like I'm having no trouble keeping them differentiated in my head, and I'm even being able to switch back and forth between them much easier than I initially was, which is good.
I definitely feel like doing this method of keeping them like side by side, or at least in the same notebook, and like emphasizing the differences and even the similarities for me has helped me to keep them separate, you know? And just they seem much more different than I think is typically stereotyped.
But I want to try, my new like goal for this is I want to get through Unit 1 as quickly as I can.
Really?
So like maybe even doing like a chapter a day, even though the chapters are getting much longer. I think I've been spending too much time like making sure that I know everything before I move on.
I've been
in a
writing
chapter.
down like full sentences of things, and I feel like I maybe even need to stop doing that.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is like try to just fly through and like do certain things, because the thing is like Mango brings up so many things later on too that I
Yeah,
feel like
you
I
get
want to keep
it's
moving
like
so that I'm getting things that are useful to me more so, because like
Space-based repetition.
if I don't know how to say like go to the right, like I can't take directions in English, so there's no way I'm gonna be able to ask someone for directions in Italy and then follow them. I've decided to try to begin using the languages a little bit more, but starting off very basic with Little Pim. So I'm gonna start with Spanish and then move on to Italian.
Hola, yo me llamo Pequeño Pim. Soy un panda. So
today I just got through half of chapter 5 for both of them. I did 4 lessons each, and I'm finally starting to like move through things a bit faster, and it's not directions anymore, so things are starting to be a bit more useful, like asking to buy things and numbers and that sort of thing, which is helpful. I'd like to actually keep going, but it is 12:42 a.m., so I'm gonna stop for today. But yeah, I just used the app and did it in bed tonight, and I screenshotted things that I want to take notes of tomorrow, and I sound disgusting.
Would you like to go to the shoe store? In an informal situation.
You get this one.
Te gustaría ir a la tienda de zapatos?
34 euro, per favore.
34 euro, per favore.
How do you
It's nearly 1 in the morning, and I've been traveling all day, I did all of chapter 6 of Italian on the ferry over here, and then I did about half of chapter 6 of Spanish, and it is going quite well. We are now learning dining and food, which is fun for Italian because I'm from New York, and so we have a lot of people here who think they speak Italian when it's been horribly butchered compared to the actual Italian, and so learning how to actually say Italian things is very, very fun. I have finally started recording what lesson I'm on and chapter, so that's helpful. We're making progress real quick, I'd say, and I'd say my confidence in it is growing stronger by the day. I have yet to speak to anybody.
Been really bad about updating, but basically the day before yesterday I just kind of did some mango right before I went to bed. I only really did the first lesson of chapter 6, and then I realized it was just too much new information and I wanted to be able to write some of it down. So then yesterday I went over that lesson again and wrote down all of the new things that I learned, and then I did the rest of it, so I finished chapter 6. One thing I've done the past few days is I've been doing a lot of immersion in Spanish and Italian, so I've watched a bit of Peppa Pig, and tonight I was watching sort of like Disney songs with the captions in both the language, so Spanish or Italian and English, and I think that's been helping.
So we are now at the end of chapter 7 in both of the languages, and honestly I'm feeling pretty great. I still don't think I'm anywhere too complex in either of the languages, but I feel like we're finally starting to get over like very basic stuff, and I think once we hit unit 2 it's going to really start to ramp up, but I've really been enjoying it. I'm still of the opinion that Spanish is my stronger of the two, only because of how familiar a lot of it seems, and the Italian is taking a lot more. Like, I find myself doing the chapter reviews with the Italian a lot more. I really wish we were able to get some, like, verb charts just so I could see it all and, like, what it means, because I'm trying to, like, construct my own, and it's really, like, not working. I think what I want to do is go back through my notebook and like highlight words that I don't think I really know. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good so far. I'm really excited to see how far we can get with this, because I feel like I'm already making quite a bit of progress. I'm finding that like even in like video games of playing online, when I see people like writing in the chat, I'm able to notice a lot more things in Spanish. It's really crazy to think how much we've been doing this and how much further we have to go. This feels like one of the first like full-on language diaries we've done, where it's like you can see our progress in like every step of it, except maybe speaking. I feel like we haven't done a whole lot of speaking, but I feel like there's not much we can really say yet. And I really want to go to Italy now after learning some little Italian. I'm very motivated to hit up Italy.
I have done nowhere near as much as I would have liked to have done in this amount of time. I've definitely taken quite a few days off, quite a few days where I've done like 1 or 2 lessons in a chapter. But the thing is a lot of that was because of Christmas. I took like 3 days off around Christmas, and then just in general I haven't been feeling great, but pretty much today has been the first day where I've kind of turned that around completely. I set more of a routine for myself in place today, and that's helped just in general. I've got a bunch of other things that I need to do other than languages as well. So I'm thinking for the rest of the time that I'm home, which is like 2 weeks at this point, I am going to try my hardest to get through a chapter a day, see if that's possible. If it's not, I want to be doing like a chapter every 2 days, so like half a chapter a day. And the thing is that even if I keep going at the pace that I've been going at, which if you average it all was probably like 1 to 2 lessons per day, I'll be halfway through both courses by the time I leave for school. I'll have done 2 units worth, so I'm hoping if I instead change it so that I'm doing a chapter at a time, there's 10 chapters per unit. I'm hoping that in that case I'll be able to actually finish the course. I do want to try to get through both of the courses as quickly as I can, because the way that I'm looking at it right now is I feel like if I get through it really fast, then I can start going over it and making sure that I really know the concepts. I think that's the way that I work best with things like Mango, is just kind of like finishing it as fast as I can and then kind of going back and reviewing it a bit slower, because I actually pick up a lot of information the first time around, but spending more time on things doesn't make me pick more up in these cases, so it's better for me to just kind of go through and then go through it again. At this point in time, I'm definitely finding it much easier than I was in the beginning to be able to switch back and forth between the two. I feel like I do have a slight preference towards Italian at this point in time. I don't know why. I mean, they have a lot of very similar words, and they actually sound quite similar in a sense. There definitely is differences between the way Spanish and Italian sound, but I do think there are a lot of similarities between the accent as well. But I don't know, something about Italian I'm just drawn to a little bit more than I'm drawn to Spanish at the moment. This sounds bad, but I feel like I'm almost a little bit more excited to do my Italian each day than I am my Spanish. But I'm also glad for that sake that I'm doing both at once, because it means that when I go to study Italian, I have to go to study Spanish. So I actually want to see if this technique works in general, just seeing if maybe if I partner up languages, one language that I'm maybe really excited to be learning and one language that maybe I am sort of in a little bit of slump with, maybe I'm in the intermediate plateau with it or something. Perhaps then when I have to study one to study the other, it'll make it so that I get more of a balance in my language routine. When it comes to studying two languages from the same family from scratch, I think that I'm not having too much trouble. I know a lot of people say not to because you'll get the words switched up, but I've actually found that having the similar words has helped me in both the languages. Being able to do a lesson of Spanish and then do the same lesson in Italian, where then I'm like, oh, okay, these words are very similar. It kind of makes it so that I have to think about Spanish again when I'm doing Italian. So pretty much like I'll do the Spanish lesson and then I'll do the Italian lesson and I'll be like, oh, that Italian word sounds like this Spanish word for that same thing. And so it has me remembering that Spanish word again. And then when I go back and do the next Spanish lesson, the same thing happens with Italian. I'm remembering the Italian word again, and it just kind of connects the two in a way that keeps them very separate in my head, but also allows me to sort of make this memory in my head where I'm like, this is how you say excuse me. I'd currently say I still have a long way to go in both languages. While I have good comprehension on the conversations that it shows me, I don't currently feel like I could really spontaneously use the language other than in the exact scenarios they give me. So perhaps if I was at a restaurant in Italy, I'd be able to ask for the check and know what happens if my credit card fails. But other than that, I don't think I could go to Italy and spontaneously have a conversation. Same thing with any Latin American country with Spanish. I do feel like though chapter 6 and 7 have finally hit the point where I'm starting to learn things that are a bit more relevant to me. It was still very touristy based. It was things like food and money and that sort of thing. But I feel like those are things that are a little bit more relevant to my daily life even if I'm not there. I like learning about food when I learn languages. I feel like food connects to a culture a lot, so it's always just something I do appreciate when learning a language, to have the food section of a book or a course. And I also think it's very handy to learn numbers, just because you use numbers in speech way more than you think. And now after this, I can tell that a lot of things are also going to be headed in directions that allow me to take the words that I'm using and kind of use them in the context that I want to, as opposed to things like credit card that don't really mean much to me outside of a setting in which I'm buying something. Other than the fact that I don't feel I've been putting in as much as I would like to see myself putting in, I feel like this challenge is going really well and I'm having a really good time, I guess, just learning two languages at the same time from the same family. And I feel like because of that, I'm really excited to see where my progress is at in 2 to 3 weeks whenever we post the next video, because I think that once I start putting in as much as I want to see myself put into this challenge, sort of like that past few days I've been doing a lot of immersion, which is great, and then today I got through as much of the course as I'd like to see myself getting through each day. I think that I'm actually going to see myself making a lot of progress. And I also think for your guys' sake, the next video will be a bit better because we finally worked out how to go about doing this.
This whole challenge is based on the linguistic idea that the similarities between languages of the same family will help you to reach an intermediate high level more effectively and efficiently. So we basically were given a few ideas as to the challenge before beginning it. We could have done Germanic families, Slavic. We were thinking about going with some Asian languages at first as well, and we both eventually decided on Spanish and Italian, but we were going to throw Portuguese into the mix as well. Right now I'm going to give you guys a little rundown of Mango Languages and the actual courses over there, so if you want to join us along in this challenge, you actually can. So right now I'm on the Mango homepage and just showing a list of the languages that they currently offer, and they are still adding to this list. They're working on more courses as we speak. I just wanted to show off this example of Mango Languages because I feel like this shines through best with languages with a more difficult grammar, because as we can see, the colors coordinate to where the word is in the sentence, or if the word appears at all. So like wa here doesn't appear, but neither does the ka, just it's a question mark. But you can kind of see how all of this coordinates, and then you can have a literal translation where all of these line up together. And so I feel like these are very helpful for me, and it just allows me to have a very visual experience with the language and really get a feel for the grammar and memorize where these words go and kind of internalize it as I go along. Something else that I really find unique about Mango is the fact that they have cultural notes in, I would say, every chapter has at least a few, and I find this really great because I think it's kind of the part that you get from language classes in real life that I feel a lot of online resources lack. Definitely give the challenge a shot if you think you would be interested in it. Try it with whatever language families you like. We are currently doing the romance challenge, and that is what they would like to challenge you with as well, so I wish you luck if you decide to join us. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.